excuse me.
Marcus, thank you very much for coming in.
Of course. Pleasure to meet you.
It's also a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in. Once we realized the problem of figuring out what identity is, because so many people are confused about just the basic things, we realized that we needed to really get down on this and call in an expert like yourself.
Of course.
Can you please give us a little bit of your background, tell the audience a little bit about what things that you've been able to accomplish with your life, where kind of your interest in psychology stemmed from, how you're able to make such a renowned name for yourself.
Sure. I was born in Russia in 1991. My parents, when I was about 6 months old, we moved to North Carolina. We are a very rich family. Many of my friends in high school would say I was a total badass. I held crazy parties at the house, a huge house, yeah. But one day I'm like, you know what? I'm going to college, so I naturally went to Harvard, top of my class, graduate. Then I was actually an adult film actor for a little bit, and then I decided to get moving with my career in psychiatry. So here I am. I'm well known on the internet. Occasionally play the drums for a small band. You might know them as Metallica.
I know. I have heard very much about that endeavor that you have set yourself upon.
Absolutely. But yeah.
I mean, I am just so amazed that we were able to get you here, because I know your schedule is incredibly busy, and then taking a look at all of the things that you've been able to do, this is just insane.
Yeah.
And you've accomplished World of Thought. You were able to be in that magazine. That was nuts. They're a very high prestigious one. You were able to tell the New York Times to stop posting garbage. You were able to just accomplish so much stuff over your career so far, and just thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it a lot. All right, I will get you introduced to our other debater that you will be speaking with tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Nice. Happy to have you here. Dr. Ethan Sullivan, thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate you coming in and discussing with us the confusing topic of identity. Can you please give me and the audience a little bit of background about who you are, where you came from, just kind of your life overview that we give some sort of employer on a resume. Let's start off. Where are you from?
I was born and raised in Nigeria. My family was pretty wealthy. We had a lot of servants. They treated them pretty well. We probably had close to about 50. We got into farming a little bit, so I'm pretty experienced outside.
Interesting. All right, so you're very experienced outside. And then where do you suppose in your childhood that led you, sparks the interest and the drive to make the achievements down in the world of psychology that we have witnessed over the past 3 decades of you being alive? Because you have some astounding feats, which I'm not going to mention here because I'm sure the audience all knows about it. Mm-hmm. But you have made some amazing discoveries in terms of experiments, being a co-founder of the monster study. That was absolutely amazing. And then many other different things that you've done. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the spark came from my father, to be honest. He was definitely a perfectionist. I feel like he really got on me a ton, and eventually I just kind of broke. I feel like I have a younger sister. You guys probably don't know her. I kind of took the spotlight.
No. I do. Some of us, because I was looking into college to take with, we did look into your younger sister a little bit. It is a tragedy what happened to her back on the farm in '97.
Yeah.
Ooh. That was a gruesome accident.
It was
and
bad.
I give my apologies to your parents. I heard, is she mentally doing any better? I do know that she's in a comfy room with all types of stuff.
It's funny because before, this is gonna be really bad to say, sorry parents, but growing up she was always on the spotlight, she was always on the podium, I was always second place, but after the accident, I took the podium, man. I got my life in check. I didn't have any competition. I soared. She didn't hold me down anymore, and sure, she's a vegetable, but she's living life, man. She's
absolutely astounding.
It's
kind of the drive that pushed you forward to become the greatness that you are known for. This is astounding Astounding. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself before we go get started with the main topic?
I would say if you guys are ever struggling in life and you need something to just, get off your chest, I would highly suggest lifting. I love it. I've done it since real young.
I can see you look quite astounding in that
yeah.
physique of yours.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. All right, so we are going to go get started upstairs. Thank you
good.
very much, and this is going to be one riveting night. So, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Dupree, today we are going to be looking into the study of identity. A lot of people are lost in these new times. We don't have any wars or famines to worry about. So what does everyone decide to worry about? Who am I? No one knows. And so that's why both of you have been called here to this meeting to discuss as to what is identity.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I know who I am. I'm a scholar, part-time badass. I really like to go all out at poker tournaments especially. That's a big thing for me. I'm a big gambler. Well-known name in Vegas.
You look like you throw around.
I can throw around the stacks, yeah. But most importantly, I'm an intellectual, and I think people get hung up on they don't find the big threes of their personality. They get stuck up on one thing. You may play baseball, and that consumes all of your personality, or you may play football, right? But maybe you get outshadowed by a different family member, and that gets held against you.
That's intriguing.
Maybe there's more to a person than what you see on the surface, and maybe their most defining feature. There's much more to the character than just their most prominent feature.
So what you're saying is that people aren't exactly a straight line. They are kind of like a line that looks like a mountain that moves around because...
I wouldn't compare it to lines. I'd say that, like, you look at just a game like Super Mario, right? Classic game, right? Two-dimensional. You can only move up and to the side. You can't see in front of him. You can't see what he sees.
Yeah, that's true. So,
but if you put it in a three-dimensional perspective, you get all sides of the dice and not just not just the one. You see all sides of the being and not just maybe their most obvious one.
So then once you're in the 3D perspective, then you're able to see everything. But what if what they're doing at the moment is correlated to something that they did once? Like what if it, instead of like 3D, it's more like a 4D perspective where you can go back and forth in time? I mean, I think that might be part of it.
Well, I mean, our decisions are always influenced by our nature, right? We're not just going to make a rash decision. There's always some, you could argue that, but I believe that no one really makes a random decision. Only a coin flip can do that for you. There's always going to be some, human thought that goes into it.
Okay, so...
Yeah, the human thought, like how our choices are influenced. I definitely noticed it during my time at the Monster Study. Working with the children, we... Okay.
Gentlemen, let's focus, please. Let's focus.
Okay.
Continue.
Yeah, but working with the children, I definitely noticed. I can't take this serious. Don't get downing it.
Was that another example of identity?
Yes. See, I take a drink from my own water, to show that, I respect what's mine, and I see something in front of me, and I assume it's mine, right?
Yes.
But I also drink all of his water to demonstrate that nothing in life is fair, and I'd like to think that we share things as a collective. Maybe not as a communist society because we don't want to be known like we're red bastards.
Death is preferable to communism.
Exactly. And being born in Russia, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
But yeah, I demonstrated two different chunks. I wouldn't say personality, but
Just
two different characteristics or aspects of life. Yeah. By drinking from my own glass, which is mostly full, and decimating my colleague's glass.
Mr. Dupree, seeing as you are from communist Russia, do you think that that has shaped who you are?
Well, personally, I'm not from communist Russia, right? I was born in 1991, right?
Right. That was
After the fall.
But still, I'm
But
sure
there are still some roots.
there
Yeah,
are
it's
some
still,
roots
it's
and influences among
absolutely,
your society.
absolutely.
I mean, of course, being from Russia and all, being surrounded by hot women all the time, all the guys in Adidas tracksuits, I'm sure that has left some remarking influence on you. Like from what I'm looking at you right now, I'm seeing you wearing a fashionable cowboy hat, the amazing mirrored sunglasses, and this polo. What I think is that from your identity may be showing that you have suppressed your Russian side of you, because I'm not seeing a lick thing of Adidas on you. It looks like you have really embraced this Western culture here, as you have transformed into this new person as you now are.
Well, that's the beauty of America. I wouldn't call myself a Russian, because I don't think deep down I am even a Russian. I was just born, by happenstance on vacation, and my parents' visas couldn't get renewed for whatever reason, so we ended up being there for a couple months. So I'd really say full-blooded I am an American. They were both American. But that being said, I think there are some parts of my culture that have been influenced by Russia.
So you feel comfortable bringing out your cultural identity, but you do not do it as much as you used to, since you are a full-blooded American, just born.
Well, I wouldn't say I flaunt my identity. I don't parade around with an American flag on my back. As some may. I have been seen wearing one in Third Hour, but that's a different story.
That is a different story.
Those were my old days. I don't go back. I don't talk about that anymore, really.
Those days did leave quite an impression on your record. That
exactly.
Some may say is the only downside to your incredible career.
But who is to argue, right? Yeah.
What are your thoughts? You yourself being from Nicaragua, growing up on a plantation of sorts, and of course that tragedy with your younger sister at such a young age. Do you think that has left you to still express your cultural identity? Like, if I had walked past you on the street, I would never assume you're from Nicaragua. But seeing you now, is there anything you'd like to say in part to that?
Yeah, being from Nigeria,
that's right.
That was a racism.
Yep, my bad.
But anyways, being from Nigeria, we had, like I mentioned before, we had a lot of servants. I was very privileged in my youth. I didn't really have to work much, but I chose to just because my dad was...
Grindset, right?
Yep, he was definitely hard on me, and I was seeking his, I don't know what you want to call it, approval, let's say. And definitely, when you have a lot of servants, some of them just don't respect you, so you have to almost assert... You have to
assert yourself.
Yeah, you have to assert dominance. Make love to their wives.
That's just like an everyday thing down there.
Like, you have to just... if you don't assert your dominance, they're not going to take you seriously. And 50 against 1, I could easily get overthrown. They need to fear me.
They do need to fear you.
You need to make them respect you, but not only that, but also see you as maybe not a master, not a master, but as a cool boss. I'd like to. I'd like to
they
think
should
if I
offer their wives up to me because they just
exactly.
I'm so great.
Okay. I personally I don't agree with that, but I'm not gonna. Who am I to say?
Do you think this has left any serious impression upon you? Because now you don't live down there full time. Do you think it leaves any serious mark upon? Do you go around sleeping with every other woman that you see, or do you just? Are you? Has anything from your past changed how you react to things now?
I try not to think about my past much. Why don't you just wait?
All right. After coming back and taking a look at some of the things that we have discussed already, we're gonna focus just a little bit more on what other people might have some problems with. let's take a look to the future. Everyone, some people like talking about it, some people it stresses them out, and that's another thing of identity, is that some people are ready to go, hit the tracks running, and some people just want to be a rock. Like, there's some people in the class that's going to be watching this who honestly like to blame everybody else for their problems, which is kind of interesting. Like, I'm not going to touch too much on this because I can get sued by the school, which is not a good thing. So, but speaking of looking to the future, we are going to be discussing now what characteristics do either of you see yourselves acquiring in the future? Like, where can you see yourself going? What skills can you see yourself learning?
You know,
what do you think?
it's obviously none of us can foresee into the future, so it's kind of a big question mark. But I do foresee myself possibly being a dad, hopefully. But you know, as a father, I'll probably gain a little bit more responsibility. I am pretty responsible now, but I might be thinking a little bit more ahead of schedule, maybe planning stuff out a little bit better. Right now, I like to kind of fly by the seat of my pants a little bit. I have plans for big stuff, but day to day, week to week, I like to fly by the seat of my pants. Don't find out about meetings till the day of. I love it. It's awesome. So yeah, only characteristics I guess I could see myself acquiring in the future is maybe more responsibility and better planning, possibly.
Looking more into the future, like way down the road, some people, you being a male, and because males age so amazingly, do you plan on being adventurous enough to where you could potentially, you want to die before you reach the age where you're in a wheelchair? Or do you see yourself becoming that sort of person who has kind of like, I don't know, the wizard persona, where it's like the beard, super knowledgeable and wise, that is just very laid back and just kind of knows what's going on?
No, personally, my plan right now is to probably just kind of lift and stay as athletic as possible, because you know, being athletic is very useful in your future. And you know, my goal is just not do anything super stupid. I don't want to end up like my sister and
vegetable.
Yeah, I mean, I want to live life, man. I want to have fun, but I also kind of want to be smart about it, you know?
I agree with him. You know, I've said this my whole life. I will either die I'll die at 40 or live until I'm 130 and there's no in between.
I like that.
And 40's creeping up on me pretty close here. I turned 33 this year, so it'll be a big milestone to reach 40, because that means I have about 90 more years to go.
That's true. Mr. Dupree, do you see yourself acquiring any new traits, any new sort of skills in the future?
Well, you know, I like to say I'm always learning, right?
You gotta keep that brain all nice and not smooth. You don't like them smooth brains.
No, I think, you know,
Have you a waffle?
I think you got to keep yourself mentally stimulated. You know, waffle not pancake, as many people would say.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep yourself receiving a fresh intake of new information daily. You know, read the news, watch some informational videos,
Do crosswords.
do crosswords, Sudoku, Rainbow Six
Mhm.
Siege, Sea of Thieves.
Oh yeah.
And those things, I believe, are what keep you mentally fresh. Stay off of the Fortnite, kids. That's not going to get you anywhere. I'm tired of all this skibbity brain rot bullshit that's going on here. You know, you got to keep yourself mentally stimulated, but also with good information. Know your sources. Know what you're doing. Know what you want to receive, but don't. You got to take in information from both sides.
So basically, what you're
you
saying,
can only hear what you want to hear.
Basically, what you're saying is think for yourselves, don't be a follower.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Be leaders. I think that is absolutely huge in the identity crisis that we are having. Looking at another main point is that because this film will be featured in many school classrooms across the nation, there are many young kids and people learning who they are. Do you think that, like, as you yourselves being very profound individuals, do you think that there's any point as to which you developed from when you went from adolescence straight to adult? Do you think that there was any points to where you're like,
No, for me, it
damn,
was,
I'm an adult now?
yeah, it was definitely, I always felt a little bit more mature because I kind of had to be.
Well,
Growing up-
I can
growing up-
imagine with your sister
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but growing up
Having to
with
take
like
care of the family,
yeah,
that
and,
must have been
and
brutal.
with all the servants, I mean, I had to. I mean, I was basically their psychologist. A lot of them went through just crap, you know.
well, and you gotta keep
Yeah.
them feeling well.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I feel like it really turned a point when I hit about 17. I mean, I've been driving for a year, and yeah, I mean, I got into a relationship.
As you were in many at the time.
I took this one a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I feel like I really matured then because I was working more, making my own money, paying for more things. But 17 is definitely where I changed from being a child to more of an adult figure.
And Marcus Dupree, what do you think that there's any part of this that relates to you? Like, is there any point where you went from adolescence to
absolutely.
adult?
I think 16, right? I don't remember what happened, but I remember waking up in my underwear in a bathtub 40 miles away from my house.
Really?
Yeah,
Can you elaborate more on this experience of yours?
I prefer not to. But when I got home that day, or that evening,
Did you drive, or did like your parents pick you up or something?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just remember being like, you know what? I gotta lock in. I mean, you know, I still stuck with the party. You know, you can't get rid of that. I still
You
gave
cannot,
up.
of course.
I just started, caring about things. And he got me somewhere, I went to Harvard, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated top of my class, but, I still know how to party and have fun. That's just part of life.
Yes, sir.
But I'd say, yeah, that one night was when I realized I had to, kind of grow up, and stop acting like a damn kid.
Hold on. So there is another psychologist who I could not get here tonight. His name is James Marcia. I tried calling him. I don't know if he's alive, dead, something like that. But earlier, Mr. Dupree, you said how there were those three main things that build your identity onto who you are.
Absolutely.
And how those just are the main things that push. And then, of course, you got those three main big ones, but then, of course, there are sometimes those subcategories and things on the side. Well, this man believed that there were four. And those were called moratorium, diffusion, foreclosure, and achievement. Quite frankly, the names are dumb and don't make any sense. But,
Well, I think sorry to interrupt.
no, you're absolutely fine.
Those are stages of development, right?
Yes.
I'm talking more about not like development, but activities, things that you do that define you. And I'd say they're two separate things.
For example, lifting, obviously. I mean, look at these freaking forearms. They're massive.
Dude, they're huge.
They're rock hard. I mean,
They're delicious.
vascular all the time.
Oh my gosh.
But-
Oh.
I would say I'm definitely a gym rat for the most part.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm thinking about taking some steroids soon.
So getting on the roids. I've heard that is a trending topic in the teen
Yep.
years.
Yep, definitely is. But I'm glad I waited till whatever age I am now.
30.
I don't care. Age is relative.
It's only relative to how you look.
Yep. But yeah. So.
All right, now, do either of your experiences or your personal view on identity, do you think it lines up with this man's theory?
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's putting a little bit too much effort into it,
Mm-hmm.
Well, oops, sorry.
No, you can go
You
ahead.
talk about Marcia, right? One of the greats, right? Everyone, you can't know psychology without knowing the name, James Marcia. His stages of development are, not only groundbreaking, but also, I think, really accurate to, the development of the human brain and your identity. And,
Oh.
My thoughts, I kind of, I disagree with you, Mr. Dupree. I feel like Marcia was doing a little bit too much, Yeah, his thoughts work for some people, but then again, not everybody's the same, and I feel like we can't really put a label on how people develop their identity. Everybody kind of develops their identity a little bit different. I personally was very influenced by my father, and
God rest his soul.
yeah, and I mean, I continue to strive to try to please him, even though he's not around. It's like I feel like he's watching me, you know. I might be a little bit paranoid, but you know, I mean, he definitely pushes me to work harder, and yeah, that's what my thoughts are on it.
So, all right, go ahead.
But yeah, but on the other hand, you know, say for example, the monster study, obviously we all know I worked on that a little bit.
Pioneer.
The results from that were amazing.
You know,
Absolutely groundbreaking.
I would
science
say
community.
it was more or less a failure, but some people find
It led some
success. Yep.
The results from that. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. The results from that study, they led to so many groundbreaking things, like such as we found a cure to hearing loss. We found a cure to cancer because of that study. That study was the reason why modern medicine has advanced so far. For you to call it a failure, that is, I'm sorry, but I highly disagree with you. That study has led to some amazing medical.
Yeah,
engineering
I mean, I
marvels.
completely agree with you, but I feel we could have definitely achieved more. You know, I feel like we could have maybe, I don't know, found a way to grow people's limbs back after being an amputee. But yeah, I mean, those children definitely helped us out a little bit. But since they were so young, we could definitely see their identities being formed as we worked with them. You know, they were definitely influenced. You know, with negative and positive regards, but. Yeah, I feel like your identity is heavily influenced by the outside world, and it doesn't really pertain much to what you think.
From where you're growing up to your early childhood to your mid-teens to even your 20s and 30s, your identity is changing throughout that entire time.
Very drastically.
Very drastically. Like, as your kid, you might be obsessed with one thing. As your teens, you're self-conscious about yourself. In your mid-20s, you get a sense of who you are. And then by your 30s, that sense of who you are changes. Could potentially even do a 180.
I know, I mean, say for example, you're like some random chick that looks like Caitlin Clark. She comes to school, I mean, you come to school dressed in just crazy outfits every day. Your parents, I mean, you're rich.
You
Like,
gotta respect her.
that's true, but I mean, like, let's just say she's second place of her hotter sister all the time, and say she, you know, she's just seeking attention, and then once she gets older, she might realize, like, hey, I'm my own person.
Well, she
makes
absolutely
sense.
is her own person.
Yes.
Because there's
more to her than her sister.
Caitlin, she had to grow up in a sort of childhood where she lived in the shadow of her elder sister.
Her elder, you know, perhaps more attractive sister.
Yeah, but perhaps her more attractive sister, as some would say. Time Magazine, many different magazines and things out there. But she was able to lead an absolutely remarkable career. But then, what that did is, after she left home, the problem is that there was that that shadowing thing. It still felt like it was there, but there was nothing creating that shadow from the sun. And it took a great many years, but she was still able to eventually overcome she was eventually able to step outside that shadow and realize that the sun is still shining. And she was able to identify an identity for herself and not entirely just trying to be someone who she's not. Because Caitlin will never live up to those standards that were set before her.
Yeah, completely agree on that, but yeah. You got any questions left for us?